peek into what the evening looks like going ahead. I would now like to invite someone who has been a very active parliamentarian. He has opened the debate on India's annual budget on multiple occasions. He has led some of the most crucial ministries of finance and civil aviation. He gained recognition as a results-oriented policymaker, and he piloted the legislation that brought in India's game-changing bankruptcy code to establishing India's sovereign wealth fund to privatize multiple airports. He launched the Udan Regional Connectivity Scheme, which expanded the number of operational airports in India by 50%. The member of the Parliament and the Chairperson of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance, please welcome Mr. Jayant Sinha, who is joining us virtually from his constituency, Hazaribagh. Please give a big round of applause for Mr. Jayant Sinha.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I'm very pleased to be with you this evening, all the way from Hazaribagh in Jharkhand. I will apologize right up front for not being there in person. As you well understand, with elections around the corner and with the party keeping us busy with many different programs and the time to spend that we have to in our constituencies, it was not possible for me to be in Delhi. And because I'm in Hazaribagh in Jharkhand, obviously we always have issues of infrastructure. So if there are any problems with respect to bandwidth or electricity, please do bear with me. We have alternatives, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time to switch from one internet connection to another internet connection. So I'll apologize for that right up front. But I think you all are setting exactly the right target, which is to ask how India can move well beyond 5 trillion, which of course we know is going to happen and is virtually just a matter of the next 2 or 3 years. And really start to focus a little bit more longer term, which is a 5 to 10 year view of how do we get to $10 trillion. And to that end, what happens in the Honorable Prime Minister's third term, which is Modinomics 3.0, is really going to set the stage for the $10 trillion aspiration. Now, it has been my great fortune and privilege to have been associated with Modinomics 1.0 and 2.0 in my role first as the Minister of State in Finance and Civil Aviation, and then as Chair of the Standing Committee on Finance in my second term. And of course, we are all eagerly looking forward to Modinomics 3.0 and the policies that will take us to 10 trillion and beyond. So as I try and highlight this journey, as I try and talk about the transformation that the country has gone through over the last decade or so, I'm hoping thereby to set the stage for what Modinomics 3.0 will look like. So it's important to understand Modinomics 1.0 and then Modinomics 2.0 to really understand how 3.0 can build on it and take it forward. And as I look at these three phases, Modinomics 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0, let me start off first by characterizing these three terms with three different words, and then just click on each of those words and try and explain why I have used those words to describe these three different terms. So I would say that the first term, Modi 1.0, was really about strengthening the economy and preparing the economy. So really the word to keep in mind here is strengthening. The second phase, which we are now ending, Modi 2.0, is really the phase that is characterized by Atmanirbharta, and I really think of it as resilience, building a resilient economy. So first step was to really strengthen the economy, and then the second step has been to build a much more resilient economy. And I think what's really exciting about Modinomics 3.0 and the run to $10 trillion, that this next phase coming up, and you're already seeing the foreshadowing of it, is going to be about leadership, particularly global leadership. So again, the three phases are Modinomics 1.0, strengthening, Modinomics 2.0, resilience, and Modinomics 3.0, leadership. These are the three important phases for each of the three terms. Now let me double click on those and explain what I mean by that. To understand Modinomics 1.0 and 2.0, all you need to know is 30 letters. 30 letters, if you know 30 letters, you'll understand really the last 10 years of our economic policy making. So let me explain what I mean by that. Phase 1, of course, Modinomics 1.0, we can understand through 15 letters. And those 15 letters are GST, IBC, DBT, SBA for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and AYB for Ayushman Bharat. 15 letters that describe really the pillars of policy making in Modinomics 1.0. And this was a time when we really truly had to strengthen the economy. If you remember, in 2014, when our government was formed, we were still viewed as a fragile 5 country. Growth had dropped below 5%. It was about 4% something. Inflation was running at 10%. The currency was wobbly. We were considered a fragile 5 country. And so we had to strengthen the economy. We had to put in place long pending reforms that were going to make our economy much, much stronger. And we did that. Obviously, GST has been an incredible game changer. You've seen what it has done to our competitiveness, the way it has streamlined our economy. We got rid of 37 different indirect taxes, and we've introduced the world's most expansive, most efficient indirect tax system through the GST. Similarly, through the IBC, we changed India's creditor culture completely. Instead of bankers having to run after promoters, now promoters are very, very watchful that they don't go into default, they don't create any NPA type situations, because now the power is with the bankers, with the creditors when a default happens. Similarly, DBT, direct benefit transfer, through which we provide benefits, cash transfers, Narega payments, a variety of other kinds of payments directly into people's bank accounts by making sure that we have got a bank account for every single individual, every single family in India. DBT has been an absolute game changer when it comes to social security, when it comes to welfare. Similarly, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan has obviously contributed to reducing open defecation, for being able to reduce the health burden, the disease burden, and really providing a whole different way of thinking about the necessary public facilities, the necessary private facilities to ensure dignity to all of our people. So I think Swachh Bharat Abhiyan absolutely is there. It also showed us that we can get to every single house across India and provide them the facilities that we need. And then finally, Ayushman Bharat, a universal social security health insurance scheme, 5 lakhs per family. So that's how we strengthen the economy, through streamlining, through social security, through behavioral change, through all of these different ways, the economy was strengthened, and that was Modinomics 1.0. Now, let me come to Modinomics 2.0. Another 15 letters will describe it. PLI for production linked incentives, which have been incredible success, obviously, by bringing manufacturing back to India. AIL, the privatization of Air India and the continued growth of aviation, of course, Air India itself placing an order for 470 planes, Indigo placing an order for 500 planes, but also showing that the government understands what the natural limits to its activities are. Air India clearly is something that belongs in the private sector. The privatization of Air India is a true game changer in that respect. And obviously, I was able to play a role in that and saw exactly how it was done. Then I will talk about another 3 letters, alternative investment funds, AIFs. And the reason I'm bringing up AIFs because the AIFs are a key driver of our startup economy, and the innovation, the 112 unicorns that we have right now, much of that has happened because we have unlocked alternative assets through AIFs. We've built the domestic venture capital and private equity industry, and there are now more than 6 lakh crores worth of assets in AIFs. That's a very powerful driver for the Indian economy. 2 more, and I'll go over them quickly. UPI, I don't need to describe that. You know what's happened, digital payments, and GKY for Garib Kalyan Yojana, where we've ensured that 80 crore people are getting free food grains. So these are the 15 letters. These are the 5 major pillars of Modinomics 2.0, production-linked incentives, Air India privatization, alternative investment funds, UPI, and Garib Kalyan Yojana. Modinomics 1.0, Modinomics 2.0, 30 letters is all you need to know them. Now, as we look forward, we've now set the stage where we have effectively a $4 trillion economy that's growing at 7% plus and is easily going to get to $5 trillion. The Honorable Prime Minister has already said कि ये मेरी गारंटी है, मैं आपको आश्वासन देता हूं कि अगले कार्यकाल में हम लोगों की $5 ट्रिलियन की इकोनॉमी होगी और हम लोग विश्व में अर्थ शक्ति बनेंगे, थर्ड लार्जेस्ट हम लोगों की इकोनॉमी होगी. So that, I think that $5 trillion goal is well in hand. What are we going to do to get to $10 trillion over the next 5 or 10 years? Those are the important drivers. Those are the important policies that we need to think about. And if I were to look forward and speculate on what could be the 4 or 5 important pillars of Modinomics 3.0, here's what I would say. Number one, continued digitization. Of course, we've done UPI, but there's ONDC coming. There is, of course, new ways in which we can digitize other sectors like electric charging. You've already seen what DigiYatra can do, for example, in aviation. So continued digitization of the economy is going to be a very major driver. Number two, decarbonization. The greening of our economy, getting onto the net zero trajectory, decarbonization is also going to be a very major driver over the next 5 or 10 years. Number three, and you'll see the pattern here. I'm sorry, I just lost electricity, so please excuse me. But number three is inclusion. We are going to continue to strengthen our social security platform. We are going to make sure that we are able to provide all of the requirements of modern day living to our people. So inclusion is going to continue to be very important for us. Urbanization, which is the fourth driver. We are moving towards cities. Cities are growing, enabling us to get more productive. So urbanization will continue to be a very important driver. And the final and fifth driver that I see as part of Modinomics 3.0 is innovation. We have reached a critical mass as far as our startup economy is concerned. We have the world's third largest startup ecosystem. We have a thriving venture capital private equity industry. And these big innovation engines are going to continue to drive our economy and enable decarbonization to happen, enable urbanization to happen. So these are the 5 drivers. The pattern here is that they all, of course, end with ION: digitization, decarbonization, inclusion, urbanization, and innovation. These are, I think, going to be the major drivers of Modinomics 3.0. Let me conclude my opening remarks, and of course, happy to thereafter take questions, by saying the following. 20 years ago, our economy was a $0.7 trillion economy. Now, we are roughly a $4 trillion economy. In the last 20 years, our economy has grown by $3.3 trillion. Market capitalization of listed securities has also grown by about $3 trillion. In fact, market cap to GDP tends to be 1:1, slightly more than 1:1, in fact. Over the next 20 years, friends, our economy is going to grow beyond $10 trillion. By 2047, that is in the mid-2040s, 100 years after independence, we are likely to have an economy that's somewhere between $15 to $20 trillion if we continue to grow at 6%. Let me repeat that. Our economy is going to grow from $4 trillion to somewhere between $15 to $20 trillion, and this is in absolute dollars, not in purchasing power parity terms, so that our economy is probably by 2047 going to be a $15 to $20 trillion economy. Now, if GDP to market cap remains at the same ratio that it is right now, which is 1:1, then the market cap of our listed securities, and I'm sure Moneycontrol viewers will be very interested in this, because this is a channel, after all, about money and about wealth creation. We are going to go from 4 trillion to, let's say, 16 trillion. And that means that the wealth creation we are going to see over the next 20 years is going to be $12 trillion. $12 trillion. So if over the last 20 years, we have created $3 trillion of wealth in our markets, in the next 20 years, we are going to see $12 trillion. That is four times that wealth creation in our markets as well, in terms of listed securities. So if you think the last 20 years have been terrific and fantastic for India, and India, of course, has had, after the US, the second best performing markets in dollar terms, not just in rupee terms, but in dollar terms. So what we have seen over the last 20 years is 1/4 of what we're going to see over the next 20 years. The wealth creation, the growth of the economy, the infrastructure built out, the real estate assets, all of this is going to be 4 times what we have seen over the last 20 years. So friends, as we get ready for Modinomics 3.0 and 4.0 and 5.0, I can assure you that what we are going to see in terms of economic growth, wealth creation, and all kinds of positive benefits for everyone in India is going to be